हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। मम ज्ञानतिमिरन्दस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकाय चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्णा हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। गुरवे गौरचंद्राय राधिकाय तदाले कृष्णाय कृष्ण भक्ताय तद्भक्ताय नमो नमः। मूकं करोति वाचालं पंगुं लंघयति गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुं दीनतारिणं परमानन्दमाधवम्। श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य ईश्वरं हरि ओम तत्सत्। Sorry, 1 second. My mobile is ringing and take my mobile and give me. Okay, sorry devotees. It's totally out of charge. I kept it somewhere else for charging. It's now is ringing continuously. Okay, sorry. गुरवे गौरचंद्राय राधिकाय तडालये कृष्णाय कृष्ण भक्ताय तद्भक्ताय नमो नमः। मूकं करोति वाचालं पंगुं लंघयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुं दीनतारिणं परमानन्दमाधवं। श्रीकृष्ण चैतन्य ईश्वरं हरि ओम तत्सत्। Hare Krishna. So thank you devotees for joining in for the Srila Prabhupada book study session this morning. As always, we will start with chanting Hare Krishna with Srila Prabhupada. Let me quickly share my screen and then we will chant with Prabhupada one round and then we'll continue with our Prabhupada book study. नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी निति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे।
कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम राम।
Just give me a thumbs up. You're able to hear Prabhupada?
कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम राम हरे हरे।
Thank you, Sumati Mataji.
कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम राम हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम राम हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम हरे हरे, Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare.
श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद।
Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna Krishna.
नमो विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य स्तोत्र चतुर्वेंद्रे सभी शरणारविंद भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। गंगा मैया की जय, यमुना मैया की जय, भक्ति देवी की जय, सुमरानी की जय, सामवेद भक्त वृंद की जय, कलियुग प्रसिद्ध पावन हरे कृष्ण महामंत्र की जय, सामवेद भक्त वृंद की जय। ऑल ग्लोरी टू assembled devotees, हरे कृष्णा। ऑल ग्लोरी टू assembled devotees, हरे कृष्णा। ऑल glories to assembled devotees, हरे कृष्णा। ऑल glories to Shri Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna. So thank you all for joining in for today's session again. We are continuing to read from Srila Prabhupada's book, The Topmost Yoga System. I saw that the link is working now. So let's continue reading from here. So what we saw in our last session of reading this book is that Vedas help us to come up to the point of understanding Krishna. But how do we have to understand the Vedas? We need to understand the Vedas from a bona fide guru, right? And Bhagavatam is the essence of life, right? We were speaking about how Bhagavatam is the Nigama Kalpataror Galitam Phalam, right? It is a sweetened fruit. I mean, it's not even a fruit. It's like a juice which is drunk by self-realized souls also, right? Muhur Rasika Bhuvi Bhavuka. Even Rasika Bhakta, self-realized souls also enjoy studying from Srimad Bhagavatam as much as a new person reads Bhagavatam to understand what is there, what are those wonderful pastimes given there. So the first time when you're reading something, it's very interesting to find out what is there in the book like that. But it is not just relished for that, to understand what is there, but it is also relished by those who have read it several times, who have that kind of realization. Okay, and then Prabhupada is now going to talk about the 4 Vedas, Rig Veda, Samaveda, Yajur Veda, and Atharva Veda. And is talking about what is the essence of all these Vedic knowledge. Veda Anta Sutra. The end of all Vedic literatures is the summary form of the conclusion of the Vedas, which is nothing but Srimad Bhagavatam. So like that, Prabhupada is going to help us understand what is Srimad Bhagavatam and how the Vedas were divided and how the essence of all the Vedas is the Srimad Bhagavatam. Because Bhagavatam is a commentary to the Vedas, like that. All right, so devotees can raise your hands. Anyone wants to read? Okay, Sarvagopi Shri Mataji, go ahead.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna, Dandavat.
The Vedas are divided into 4, Sama, Rig, Atharva, and Yajur. Then these are explained by the Puranas, of which they are 18. Then these are still further explained by the Upanishad, of which there are 108. The Upanishads are summarized in the Vedanta Sutra, and the Vedanta Sutra is still again explained by the Srimad Bhagavatam by the same author. This is the process. So the Bhagavatam is the essence of all Vedic knowledge. Naimisharanya is a very famous and sacred forest in northern India, where all the rishis and sages generally go to aid their spiritual advancement of life. The Srimad Bhagavatam was first discussed in this age in that forest. When it was discussed, the great scientist Sutta Goswami was asked by his audience, now that Krishna has gone back to his abode, with whom is transcendental knowledge now resting, this question was raised. The Bhagavad Gita was spoken by Krishna himself, and it contained all the descriptions of Jnana Yoga, Karma Yoga, Dhyana Yoga, and Bhakti Yoga. Now, this inquiry was made. Where can we get spiritual knowledge now that Krishna has gone? The answer was that Krishna, having departed, has left us the Srimad Bhagavatam. It is the representation, the south representation of Krishna. The Bhagavatam is not different from Krishna, as the Gita is not different from Krishna. They are absolute. Krishna and Krishna's sound vibration are not different. Krishna and Krishna names are also not different. And Krishna's form again are not different. This is the absolute. It requires realization.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you. Hare Krishna. Dandavat Pranam.
Yeah, so we were discussing that Lord Krishna is absolute. right? And whatever is about Krishna, whatever is pertaining to Krishna, whatever are the expansions of Krishna, or whatever are the paraphernalia, devotees of Krishna, then the Dhamma of Krishna, the Nama, Rupa, Guna, Leela of Krishna, they're all as good, as absolute as the Lord himself. By the mercy of the Lord himself, there is no difference. And there is no difference between Krishna and Srimad Bhagavatam. Krishna Swadamo Pagate, Karma Jnana Dibisaha, Kalo Nashta Puranarko Adunoditaha. Right? When Krishna has gone back to the spiritual abode, who will give us light in this age of Kali, which is the age of ignorance or the age of darkness? It is by the Srimad Bhagavatam. So Krishna is not different from Srimad Bhagavatam because Krishna has led Srimad Bhagavatam in this age of Kali when he himself went back to his spiritual abode. And the words spoken by Krishna are not different from Krishna. So Krishna is not different from Bhagavad Gita also. Similarly, Prabhupada is making a point here that there is no difference between the Nama, Rupa, Guna, Leela, Dhamma, and any paraphernalia that is used to worship Krishna. They are all on the absolute platform as much as the Lord is in the absolute platform. And now, what are the sound incarnations of Krishna? That's what is Awaaz bahut kam aa rahi hai. Is it? Okay, let me check the audio settings. Okay. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare. Okay, Shobha Mataji is saying, is giving me thumbs up. Okay, fine. So Mataji, who is that? Nisha Mataji, aapko ye check kar lijiye, aapka audio settings. Hai na? All right. Meenakshi Mataji is also saying it's okay. So what was I saying? Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita are sound incarnations of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Sri Krishna. When we say sound incarnation, what does it mean? Shabda Praman. That means we hear Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam from our spiritual masters, from the devotees, right? So that's why it's called sound incarnation of Krishna. Why? Because the words of the devotees, of those devotees who are surrendered under the Supreme Personality of Godhead, are non-different from Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Sri Krishna himself. So in this way, Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam are sound incarnations of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Okay, so let me go down. Yes. Sumati Suresh Mataji, please read.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Bol, Dandavat.
This Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam are sound incarnations of Krishna. The Srimad Bhagavatam is also the literary incarnation of Krishna, and it is the fruit of Vedic knowledge. You may have experienced that there is a bird which is called a parrot. The parrot's body is green and his beak is red. The specific qualification of the parrot is that whatever you say, he can imitate. That parrot bird is touching the ripened fruit, and naturally, if the fruit is ripened on the tree, it becomes very tasteful. Again, if the fruit is tasted by the parrot, it becomes still more tasteful. That is nature's way. So here it is said that this Srimad Bhagavatam is just like the ripened fruit of Vedic knowledge, and at the same time, it is touched by Sukadeva Goswami, Suta's spiritual master. Sukha means parrot in Sanskrit.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Shukhamukad Amrita Drava Samyudam Vibhata Bhagavatam Rasamalayam. That verse what we quoted. What does that say? Shukhamukad Amrita Drava Samyudam. It is already nectar. Srimad Bhagavatam is the essence of all the Vedic scriptures. It is Vedanta Sutra. It is already very delicious. It is drunk by self-realized souls. But that Srimad Bhagavatam, when it was spoken by Shukadeva Goswami, then what happens? Just like fruit, when it is pecked by a parrot, then the fruit becomes even more tasteful. Similarly, Srimad Bhagavatam, when it was spoken from the lotus mouth of Shukadeva Goswami, Srimad Bhagavatam became even more tasteful. So that is the power of the absolute truth being delivered by a pure devotee of the Lord. See, each one can explain Krishna according to their own realizations. Right? So sometimes when we hear some classes, we are really enthused by it. by those classes. Why? Because the speaker is able to connect with the audience, and whatever they require, whatever they are wanting to hear from the Lord, that that will encourage them, that they are actually hearing from the speaker. So whatever the hearer is able to realize, right? Even Sutta Goswami, when he's starting Srimad Bhagavatam, he says, I'm going to explain whatever I have realized from what I've heard from Shukadeva Goswami. Right? So whatever is our realizations, to that limited realization only, we can explain that absolute truth to others. Right? So, but in all capacities, we should try to do our best in what we think is the best way to give to others what we have received from our senior devotees, like that. Okay, Leela Nandini Mataji, go ahead. This Srimad Bhagavatam was first explained.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam. This Srimad Bhagavatam was first explained by Sukadeva Goswami, though the author is his father Vyasa. Sukadeva was only 16 years old when he was taught the Bhagavatam, and he was illumined. He was already liberated in the impersonal concept of the Absolute. But after hearing the Bhagavatam from his father, he became attracted by the pastimes of Krishna, and he became a preacher of the Bhagavatam. First, he explained it before Maharaja Parikshit, the great king. A short history of Maharaja Parikshit is that he was a very pious king. But unfortunately, by some of his acts, he was cursed by a Brahmana boy to die within 7 days. In those days, if a Brahmana should curse someone, it would come true. They had the power to curse or give benediction. So Parikshit understood that within a week he would have to die, and he prepared himself. He gave up his kingdom, entrusting it to his son, Maharaja Janamejaya, and he detached himself from the family and sat down on the banks of the Ganges near Delhi. It was not exactly the Ganges, it was actually the Yamuna. There, because he was a great emperor, many learned sages came. Parikshit now inquired from all the great sages present there, what is my duty? I am going to die within 7 days. Now, what is my duty? You are all learned sages. Please just prescribe for me. So someone said to practice yoga. Some said to practice jnana, the cultivation of knowledge. There were different opinions. But at that time, Sukadeva Goswami entered the forest. And although Sukadeva was only 16, he was so learned and reputed that all the old sages, including his father Vyasadeva, stood up to show him respect. He was so learned. So when he appeared, it was agreed. Here is Sukadeva Goswami. Let him decide what to do. We appoint him as our representative. Sukadeva Goswami was this authorized
Hare Krishna, thank you, Mataji. Haribol.
Hare Krishna, Haribol. Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you, Haribol, Mataji. So, a very beautiful point, right? Shukadeva Goswami arrived at the place where Parikshit Maharaj is sitting, waiting for his death in 7 days. Right? Different people are also assembling in that particular place by the will of the Lord. Right? And many yogis and siddhis and all of them are also there. So Parikshit Maharaj is asking each one of them, right? I have only 7 days. Can I perfect my life? And then they all say that 7 days is too short a time to actually perfect one's life. But then Shukadeva Goswami, he later on tells that he tells about Katwanga Maharaj. Right, Katwanga Maharaj perfected his life in just a muhurta, right, which is I think about 42 seconds or some 36 seconds or something like that, or 45 seconds. In one muhurta, 45 seconds or something, he perfected his life. Right, Katwanga Maharaj actually he was helping the demigods in the war against the demons. And finally, when they won the war, the demigods said that we want to give you a benediction, ask for any boon. And Katwanga Maharaj asked him, how long do I have to live? Right? How long can I stay in this body? And then the demigods, they told that you have to leave your body in next muhurta. So in that way, when Katwanga Maharaj came to know of this, he said, let me now meditate upon the Supreme Lord. And then he went back to Godhead in exactly one muhurta. Right? So Shukadeva Goswami told this to Parikshit Maharaj and said, you have 7 days and 7 nights. That's a lot of time. Easily you can perfect your life in this 7 days and 7 nights, like that. Now, we all don't know how long time we have in this world, but we have to be prepared at all times, right? Because the death may come at any time. So we need to be prepared at all times, because we are not as fortunate, Shukadeva Goswami, so that we know our expiry date, right? The body, as soon as it's created in this world, comes with an expiry date. We were discussing yesterday, isn't it? So that expiry date is there, but it is only that we don't know when is expiry date. So we have to be on our toes at all times. Always remember Krishna, never forget Krishna. That is a formula, so that we can go back home, back to Godhead in this lifetime. Okay. So let us rest. Sindhu Mataji, go ahead. Shukadeva Goswami was just authorized to
Pranam Mataji, Hare Krishna.
Hari Bol.
Shukadeva Goswami was thus authorized to speak, and he was asked, what is my duty? I am very fortunate that you have come in this momentous hour. Kindly tell me what is my duty. Shukadeva Goswami said, all right, I shall explain to you the Srimad Bhagavatam. Then everyone present agreed. As the Bhagavatam was first spoken by Shukadeva Goswami, it is therefore mentioned that as the parrot touches the ripened fruit and it becomes even sweeter, so the Srimad Bhagavatam, because it was touched first by Shukadeva Goswami, has become still more tasteful. The idea is that any Vedic literature, especially the Bhagavatam or the Gita, should be learned as spoken by a realized soul. Especially this literature, which is called Vaishnava literature, should not be heard from a person who is not a devotee. This point I have several times stressed. Those
Okay,
who
thank you, Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Hari Bol. Yeah. So Prabhupada, he's mentioning here, I've stressed this point a number of times, right? So Prabhupada, in almost all of his early lectures, he talks about milk that is touched by the lips of a serpent, how it can cause poisonous effects. Right, milk is generally makes a person healthy. It's a good drink. It helps one to boost one's intelligence and all that. But when the milk is touched by the lips of a serpent, then what happens? It becomes poisonous, right? Then it cannot have any benefits, isn't it? Similarly, the Bhagavad Gita and the Bhagavatam, they are all wonderful scriptures. They are all transcendental. However, when these are explained by Mayavadis or those who don't have a proper understanding, then the effect that it can create is poisonous, which means one will not get the desired goal and becomes even more difficult to remove all the wrong learnings and then get on to correct learnings. Right? It's better to have a clean slate where we directly hear from a bona fide spiritual master and try to understand the truth directly and correctly for the first time. Rather than, go from one school to another, learn the things, whatever they teach, and then we have a lot of unlearning to be done. Right? We were discussing in one of the earlier classes how, those born in Brahminical families, right? Most of them, especially in South India, they're all Mayavadis. Why? Because it's come down the generations, right? Where they want to study Vedic literatures, but what is their objective? They want to become Krishna. They want to become God. So that is not the purpose of understanding the Vedic literatures. We want to serve the Lord. We want to become the servant, right? Daso Asmi, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur used to write in all of his letters, Daso Asmi, I am your servant, right? Why am I a servant of anybody and everybody in this world? Because Mamai Vamshu Jiva Loke Jiva Bhuta Sanatana. Everyone is a part and parcel of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and everybody is carrying the Supreme Lord as Paramatma in his or her heart. When we offer obeisances to devotees, we should keep in mind, we are offering obeisances to the Paramatma who is actually present within the Jiva, who is before us, right? So this Bhagavatam or the Bhagavad Gita should not be heard from anybody and everybody if we want to have the right kind of effects. What is the right kind of effect? We need to develop love for Krishna. If by the study of Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita, we are not developing love for Krishna, then we need to question our intention, our motive, and whom we are hearing from. Both we'll have to introspect and see whether we are learning from the right source, whether we are hearing with the right attitude. Like in Bhakti, in Nectar of Instruction, in the preface, Prabhupada says, the advancement of a devotee depends on the attitude of the follower, right? So whatever is our attitude, if you want to become the servant of the Lord will guide us. But if you want to become the Lord, then the Lord will put us into illusion. Okay, you go and enjoy yourself, try to become the Lord and get frustrated. And then by the mercy of a devotee, when we understand who am I, who's the Lord, my duty is to serve, then we are in the properly situated in the path of bhakti. Right? So Ms. Mataji had read here. So let's see those who are non-devotees. Now Kishori Mataji, go ahead.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandvat Pranam.
Those who are non-devotees. Yeah.
Those who
Yes,
are
ma'am.
those who are mental speculations, those who are fertility workers, those who are meditators or mystic yogis cannot explain the science of God. This is especially mentioned also by Sanatana Goswami, another great saint. Those who are not in a devotional service, non-godly, those who have no faith in a God, such persons should not be allowed to speak on the Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam or any literature which is in relationship with the Supreme Lord. So it is not that anybody can speak the Bhagavatam or the Gita and we will have to hear it. We will have to bear it. Hear it. No, Sanatana Goswami especially prohibits us. We should not hear of the Supreme Lord from one who is not purified. One may ask, how can you taint the words of Krishna which are naturally, transcendentally pure? What is the harm if one hear from the non-devotee? This question may be raised. The example given here is that milk is very nice and nutritious, but as soon as it is touched by a serpent, it becomes poison immediately. The serpent is very envious. He bites and puts the teeth immediately, unnecessarily, and therefore he is considered the cureless animal amongst the living entities. In the Shastra, non-violence is recommended as in every scripture, but the serpent and scorpion are allowed to be killed. You cannot say the milk is so nutritious and we can drink. What is the harm if it is touched by serpent? No, the result will be death. One should not hear at least the Bhagavad Gita and the Srimad Bhagavatam from those who are not devotees of the Lord, who have no realization of God, and who are envious of him. Their touch renders it poison. The word of the Lord are always sublime, but as soon as they are touched by the serpent, like non-devotees, one should be very careful about hearing. In the Bhagavatam.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Bhakto sime sakha cheti rahasyam hi etaduttama. Right? Krishna tells Arjuna, why did I choose you to give this transcendental knowledge of Bhagavad Gita? Because you are sakha cheti. You are my friend. Right? Bhakto sime, and you are a devotee. A devotee means what? A devotee means he does not feel envious towards other devotees, towards anybody for that matter. Right? So even when we see the pastings of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also, right, we were hearing how when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu during the Mahaprakasha Leela, he was glorifying all the devotees. He was calling each one of the devotees and giving them their mercy. At that time, they do not call one Mukunda Datta. And then everybody was saying, oh, why Mukunda is not called? Why Mukunda is not called? Right? Nobody is worrying, why I am not called? Why I am not getting the mercy? So that is a quality of a devotee. A devotee is never envious. Oh, why is this person getting all the mercy? Why this person is getting all this? Why am I not getting it? Right? So that kind of envious attitude should be given up by a devotee. Right? Bhakto sime sakha cheti rahasyam etuduttama. You are my friend and you are a devotee, which means you are not envious. That is the reason I am going to teach you this knowledge. That's what Krishna told Arjuna. Yeah? Okay. Okay, Priyanka Mataji, you can conclude this and then we can start the next chapter. Yes. In the Bhagavatam.
In the Hare Krishna Mataji,
Hare Krishna.
In the Bhagavatam, it is indicated that as soon as Sukadev touched it, it became delicious. This is the distinction. Basically, it is a ripened fruit of the Vedic knowledge. But at the same time, it has been touched by Sukadev Goswami. The Lord is a supreme object of yoga and the reservoir of all the transcendental pleasure. He reveals himself only to his devotees, and by the mercy of his devotees, all can relish his intimate association.
Yeah. By the mercy of his devotees, all can relish his intimate association. So, you also see in the pastime of Kala Krishna Das, right? Nityananda Prabhu actually sends Kala Krishna Das as the servant of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and he becomes influenced by the Bhattaharis. And then he goes with them, right? At that time, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu pulls him by his shika and brings him back. And then he comes back to Bengal. He gives him to Nityananda Prabhu and he's saying, I don't even want to look at him anymore, right? I have brought him back as a responsible because you sent him with me. And he gave in, and Nityananda Prabhu, what did he do? Although Chaitanya Mahaprabhu rejected Kala Krishna Das, Nityananda Prabhu did not reject. Nityananda Prabhu and all the devotees, they seek permission from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that can I send Kala Krishna Das to Navadvip. Right? Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had come to Jagannath Puri. Right? So that time Nityananda Prabhu said, can I send Kala Krishna Das to Navadvip Dham to tell them that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has come and also send him with a prasadam. And what happens? By the mercy of the devotees, Kala Krishna Das gets the association. Kala Krishna Das gets the service opportunity, although Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is rejected. So that is what Prabhupada is mentioning here, that service, opportunity and mercy of the Lord is manifested to all through his devotees. That is why sadhu sangha, sarva shastra haya, sarva shastra goya. All the shastras are saying, what are they saying? Lava matra sadhu sangha, sarva siddhi hoya. Even a moment's association with a pure devotee can protect us from the most dangerous type of fear. So that's how it is. And then we have Karpagavali Mataji and Sridhar Prabhu who raise their hands. We'll start with chapter number 9, which is entitled Real Peace Formula. Right? Krishna has given the peace formula in Bhagavad Gita 5.29. What is that? Bhoktaram yajna tapasam sarva lokam maheshwaram suhradam sarva bhutanam nyatva mam shanti mrichati. We can get peace only when we understand the Lord to be the ultimate CEO, the chief controller, the chief enjoyer, and the chief owner of everything. So I don't possess anything, I don't enjoy anything, and I'm not in control of anything. But I have this peace with me. Why? Because I understand that what is not within my control is within the control of the Lord, who is my well-wisher, who is my best friend, who is my benefactor, right? So like that. So even in the material world, we see, right, when we have some powerful connection with a chief minister or a governor, etc., we can get our things done very easily through the government offices. We can get appointments easily. We can cut through the queues and go ahead easily, right? Whatever happens in the material world, it is simply a reflection of what happens in the spiritual world. But here, it is all considered unlawful, right? To cut the queues and go in front and all that, right? But so being dear to a devotee means that we will have more mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead falling upon us. That is why we serve the devotees. We try to serve in a way that pleases the devotees, because that is the best path for us to receive the mercy of Lord Krishna. So that is a peace formula. So let's see what Prabhupada says in this chapter, the real peace formula. Karpagavali Mataji, go ahead.
Thank you, Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Real peace formula. Every living entity is searching after peace. That is a struggle for existence. Everyone, from the aquatics to the highest form of human being, from the ant up to the Brahma, the first creature of this universe is searching for peace. That is the main objective. Lord Chaitanya said that a person who is in full Krishna consciousness, Krishna consciousness, is the only peaceful man because he has no demands. That is a special qualification of a person who is in Krishna consciousness. He is akama.
Akamaha.
He is
Kama means desire. Akamaha means he has no desires.
Akamaha means to those who have no desire, who are self-sufficient, who have nothing to ask, and who are fully peaceful. Who are they? They are the devotees who are situated in Krishna consciousness. All others fall into 3 classes. One class is bhakti, those who are hankering after material happiness and enjoyment. These people want to eat, drink, be merry, and enjoy. There are different modes of enjoyment and enjoyment according to the body. People are searching after sense enjoyment on this planet, on other planets, here, there, and everywhere. Their main object is to gratify senses. That is called bhakti. The next class is those people who are fatigued and frustrated in sense gratification and therefore want liberation from this material entanglement. And then there are those who in search of knowledge speculate about what absolute truth is. Thus, there are some who want sense enjoyment, and others, the Salvationists, who are seeking liberation. The Salvationists also have some desire. The desire is to be free from this material entanglement. Then there are those who are yogis. They are searching after mystic perfection. There are 8 kinds of mystic perfection, which grant the ability to become the smallest, to become the heaviest, or to get whatever one desires. Ordinary persons who are after sense gratification and those who are salvationists or who are after mystic perfection, all have some demand. But what about the devotees? They have no demands because they simply want to serve Krishna. They are waiting for the order of Krishna. That is their satisfaction. If Krishna wants the devotees to go to hell, they are prepared to go to hell. And if Krishna says, you come to me, they are prepared to go. They have no demands. That is the perfectional state.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you, Mataji. Dandatnam.
Yeah. So there are no demands, there are no conditions attached. If these 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5 are fulfilled, then I will serve you. Otherwise, I will not serve you. There are no conditions attached. That's why it's said to be ahituki apratihata, unmotivated. One does not want to satisfy any of his materialistic sense gratificatory demands, and uninterrupted. Ahituki apratihata. That means whether or not I like to do or not, I'm doing it. In this level, we are doing it for the pleasure of the Lord. Whether or not I like it or not. And there comes a stage when we will continue to do for the pleasure of the Lord, but we will always want to do it for the pleasure of the Lord. The Lord's pleasure will give us pleasure. In Lord's pleasure will lie our pleasure, right? So I'm just thinking of this pastime, Hanumanji. So once what happened, Lord Ram was sitting in the assembly, in the court assembly, and Sita Devi, actually, she was putting kumkum in her forehead. And then what happened? Hanumanji was seeing this. Sita Devi actually putting kumkum on her forehead. And he asked Sita Devi, why are you putting kumkum on your forehead? And then Sita Devi is saying, because it gives pleasure to Lord Ram. And then what happens? The Lord Ram is there in the assembly, in the court, and suddenly one creature springs who's all red. The whole body is red. And then everybody is trying to find out who is this person who's interrupting with the functions of the assembly. And then one of them can find out, oh, this is Hanuman. And then Lord Ram is like laughing so much. And he's saying, what is this, Hanuman? What are you doing? What are you doing here? Why are you all red like this? And then Hanumanji said, the entire thing, that if Sita Devi, by putting a small little bit of kumkum on her, a sindoor on her forehead is giving you so much pleasure. I thought if I just cover my entire body with sindoor, how much more pleasure will I give you? So that is the mood of a devotee, right? Whether or not people are laughing at me, whether or not I am looking nice, or I am looking, shabby, or I have become an object of laughter, doesn't matter. Does it give pleasure to the Lord? Yes, I will do what it takes to give pleasure to the Lord. So those are the pure devotees of the Lord, right? If the Lord wants me to be with him, I will be with him. If the Lord wants me to go and preach, I will go and preach. If the Lord wants me, right, His Holiness Jayapataka Swami Maharaj, day before yesterday was Holiness Bhakti Charu Swami Maharaj's appearance day. And His Holiness Jayapataka Maharaj had written an offering for Bhakti Charu Maharaj, wherein he said, I had actually asked you to stay, but you left. Maybe Prabhupada had a greater mission for you to preach in some other planet, or where he is there right now. So that is the mode of the devotees. The devotees understand that anything that has happened, anything that is happening by the will of the Lord. And if that gives pleasure to the Lord, even though it may cause me pain, right? It is not any pain, because we are going to facilitate the Lord to attain pleasure. And the Lord is attaining pleasure by doing something that may apparently seem that it is, in a material way, it may not seem a right thing for us. But since we don't have the vision to see the long-term perspective, we do what we think gives pleasure to the Lord. In this instance, we don't generally think for ourselves, right? Because Hanumanji is exalted devotee of the Lord. He gave pleasure to Lord Ram nonetheless. But in our conditioned stage, how do we understand what gives pleasure to the Lord? In our conditioned stage, we understand how to give pleasure to the Lord by following the instructions of our spiritual master. That is how we understand how to give pleasure to the Lord. And now Prabhupada is going to talk about what is the prayer of a devotee. With this, we will end. Sridhar, go ahead. There is a very nice verse in which a devotee prays. Yeah, please unmute, Prabhu.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam.
Dandavats.
This is a very nice verse in which devotee prays, I shall simply be conscious of you. My dear Lord, Krishna conscious, free from all mental demands. Actually, because we are in the material bondage, we have many demands. Some people want sense gratification. Those who are a little more elevated want mental satisfaction. And those who are still more refined want to show some magic jugglery of power in this world. They are in material bondage in different capacities. Therefore, a person who is Krishna consciousness prays to the Lord, my dear Lord, when shall I be fully absorbed to your thoughts? Or your service, your thoughts are not simply abstract, concocted speculation. It is a practical mode of thoughts. I shall become peaceful. All mental concoction, I don't understand this word. I want this, I want that will be completely eradicated. We are hovering
Hare
over.
Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you.
So there is mental concoction. Mental concoction means mental speculation. If I get this much amount of money, I will be very happy. If only I get this job, I will be so happy. I will not want anything else. Oh, if at all I purchase this 3 BHK house, I will be very happy. That is our mental speculation. We are building castles in our mind. But even after we getting that job, or even after getting that house, we will still want more and more. Right? Ye dil mange more. Right? That is what is the attitude in the material life. We are never satisfied. But that is not wrong. But we need to dovetail that. We need to have that kind of laulyam, that kind of desire, that kind of greed to hear Krishna Katha, to speak about the glories of Krishna, to chant Hare Krishna more and more. That is why we can dovetail even greed in the service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That is the greed we need to develop. And Prabhupada here mentions very beautiful thing. Devotion is not just in the mind. It is not something abstract. Right? That's why Prabhupada in Bhagavad Gita and other books, he actually translates bhakti as devotional service. That means if we have devotion in our heart, it has to be translated in the form of service using our senses. That is actually bhakti, not just sitting on the armchair philosophers, right? Talking about Krishna. Oh, I've read this, like that. But when there is no, that is also we are engaging our mouth in speaking about the glories of the Lord. But physical service, get up, walk up, show up, they say, I let it like that, right? So when we are in a devotional attire in the temple at the right time, when there is a seva and we are actually rendering service to the Lord, that is devotional service. Otherwise, I'm always thinking about Krishna, but I'm sleeping all day long. I'm watching TV serial, but I'm always thinking about Krishna. Right? Then there is a dichotomy in what I am doing and what I'm saying, I'm thinking. Right? Who knows what thoughts are going on in the mind? But when we do physical action in terms of singing kirtans for the Lord, performing the arati of the Lord, studying the scriptures, in that way we actually express our intention to the Lord that I want to be engaged in your service. So that is important. Mere thoughts, so many thoughts come and go. Right? But those thoughts will remain in our mind, which we action. Those thoughts which are important to us, we will action those thoughts to exhibit our emotions to the person we love, isn't it? And so that is why Prabhupada has put devotion as, has translated bhakti as devotional service, right? Only service pleases Lord Shri Krishna. And that is our only desire. As we are praying to Srimati Radharani, the next 3 days, we are having the most auspicious festival, Shri Radhashtami Mahamahotsava. We're praying to Srimati Radharani. May I have this interest to serve you eternally. May I not be doing mental speculation or concoction, thinking that this might please the Lord, that might please the Lord. May I follow Guru, Shastra and Sadhu, understand what actually pleases the Lord, and give me the enthusiasm, the patience and determination to perform those services to the pleasure of the Lord. That is our prayer to Srimati Radharani. Shri Radhashtami Mahamahotsava ki jai. And we can also make the same prayer to Lord Ganesha today. Please engage me in the service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Shri Radha and Krishna. Because today is some of us are celebrating Ganesh Chaturthi, so that can be our prayer to Lord Ganesha today. Right? Okay, thank you very much. So that with that we will end with Harinam Sankirtan. Before that, I'm getting darshan of all the wonderful devotees. Sarva Gopeshwari Mataji, Karpagavalli Mataji, Ramya Mataji, Shobha Mataji, Leela Nandini Mataji, Sridhar Prabhu, Sumati Suresh Mataji, Vanmali Prabhu, Rituparna Mataji. Devotees are merciful. All are giving darshan today. Haribol. What is this? Anjana Mataji, Meenakshi Mataji, Nav Kishori Mataji. Okay. And then Chitra Subramanian Mataji. Mataji joined us for a long, long time. Thank you. Thank you for joining in. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyevacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. So we especially thank those devotees who are giving us darshan, and we also thank all the devotees who joined us for today's session. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai, Nitai Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol. Nama Om Vishnu Padhaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namane Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Sesha Sunnavadi Paschatyaadishadarine Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Gauranitai Jaya Gauranitai Gauranitai Jaya Gauranitai Jaya Radha Rasa Bihari Radha Rasa Bihari Radhe Radhe Jaya Radha Madhav Radha Madhav Radhe Radhe Jaya Radha Shama Sundar Radha Shama Sundar Radhe Radhe Jaya Radhe Jaya Radhe Jaya Radhe Jaya Shri Radhe Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Gurudeva Srila Gurudev Nitai Gaura Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai Harinam Sankirtan ki jai All glories assembled devotees Hare Krishna All glories assembled devotees Hare Krishna All glories to the assembled devotees Hare Krishna All glories All glories to Shri Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga Srila Prabhupada ki jai Hare Krishna. So Dandat Pranams. Tomorrow we'll meet at 5 o'clock as usual for our chanting session, and then we meet at 12:45 for Srila Prabhupada's book study. Tomorrow is 20th, 21, 22. Okay, one of the days we'll also have about an hour session on Radha, Srimati Radharani's glories, where we can sing some nice, wonderful bhajans like that. We'll try to have that. 23rd we will not have. Anyway, it's a Saturday. So Saturday, Sunday we're not having. Of course, I will confirm about our Brahma Murta session, because I believe as well as Radhanath Swami Maharaj is in Mumbai and is giving a class on Saturday morning, Bhagavatam class. So I'm not sure about my program, but you all can join. You all can join and chant in the morning session, right? You all can join in the Brahma Murta Japa group and chant. So yeah, that way it can be done. All right. Hare Krishna. Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srila Gurudeva ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Nitai Gaur Premanande. Hari Hari Bol. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.